Physicians are like everybody else. They've got smartphones. They figure out how to become efficient. They use text messaging in their lives out of the hospital, and so it's just natural that they're going to use it in the hospital. And they want to become efficient. They want to communicate with others, and really that helps streamline a lot of their processes. So we recognize that a few years ago, and I think a lot of people have. And you can't sort of stick your head in the sand and pretend like you don't have an issue or write a policy against texting. Yet you do want to be cognizant of HIPAA and try to do the right thing. So that's why we recognize the problem and how we try to decide to do something to fix it for us. I think most people want to do the right thing, will do the right thing. It's incumbent on us to give them the right tools. And so one of the things we want to make sure of was whatever tool we provided, it wasn't going to be foreign to the physicians. They know how to use their SMS text messaging on their phone. Very simple. They've used it all the time. So I wanted something that was similar in look and feel to that, but still protected us. So that was probably the number one thing that I wanted to make sure of, is that we followed all the HIPAA regulations, but I think all the vendors were going to make sure they did that, but then was easy to use for the clinicians. A lot of it was about workflow. It was just the quick yes, no, something around this patient. We don't allow orders to be entered based upon that, but we just treat it like informal communication for the most part. So it's not part of the medical record, but it still can contain PHI information. And so many times it was just to communicate with a colleague or a nurse, something really quick and easy, or communication to them, just kind of speed up that process instead of waiting for texting, before it was a page or a phone call and a message and wait for a return phone call or something like that. We wanted a small pilot group. I wanted 10. And so I went to the usual suspects who like those things, that have always asked, I would work with this if you had it. And within less than a few days, we had 60. We just couldn't contain it because now this provider wanted to talk to this person or this person or this person. So we had got them all on board. And so we started with 4 different kind of use cases, I guess, for the different specialties also, and grew out from there. Well, it's great. Great adoption for us. We're not a giant facility. We're about a 200-bed community hospital, so we've got 160 physicians on our medical staff, and today we're well over 200 clinicians that use the system. And then on top of that, we've got other folks, nursing staff, support staff, administrators who have the same application on their phones because doctors also want to communicate with us. It is, and I'm not someone who wants to manage somebody else's device. We have way too many other things to worry about, but I do want to make sure that we protect that information. So with an application like this that does encrypt and secure the data, and actually no data ends up residing on the device itself, so the application is just the transport mechanism, I don't really have to worry about it. And we can unenroll them really quickly so that their phone is wiped of that application from our perspective, or the connection to it anyhow. So it makes it easy for us to control the environment without controlling devices.
I think there's a big push from consumer devices being used in the hospital because doctors and nurses have a lot of power in their pockets. They bring in their own devices, and what we see is a tension between security and efficiency. When doctors have something that they can use that they think is good for patient care, you see them reach for it. We want them to do the right thing. We want them to use a secure system. But I see doctors that, for example, a neurosurgery physician's assistant or a resident is in the emergency department evaluating a patient, and they see the x-ray come up, the image of the CAT scan. We see them taking their phone and taking a picture of the PAC screen and texting it to their attending to talk about whether that's an operative lesion or not. Things like that are protected health information. It needs to be on a system that's secure and HIPAA compliant. I wear several hats, and one of my hats is an emergency physician, and I have patients that actually take pictures themselves for me, and we sometimes will use that. I actually wear another hat as the CMO of Imprivata, and we have a secure texting solution, so I do use that texting solution. But I've had patients come in when they get triaged to the emergency department who have had, for example, an allergic reaction, and they came in maybe 45 minutes earlier were triaged, the process started, they saw the resident, got some medicine started. And when I saw them, I'm seeing a snapshot of, literally one point in time, and I'm wondering if they're better, worse, or the same. And they take their camera out and say, well, actually, doctor, I took a picture and look, I'm improving. I say, oh, I agree, you actually do look better, and I think we can send you home. Integrating that kind of power into our workflow would be really good for patient care. Had a patient come in a few weeks ago who was a known epilepsy patient, had a different type of seizure, a focal partial seizure, one part of the body moving instead of all of the body. This has a lot of implications for the neurologist and what they treat with and how. And that patient comes in having a seizure. As an emergency medicine physician, I need to stop the seizure. So I'm stopping the seizure and then trying to describe later to the neurologist exactly what happened. If I could take a 15-second video of that patient as they arrive so that the neurologist could actually see what's happening, that would greatly affect patient care. So there are countless examples like this, and for every high-level example of protected health information that involves a picture of a finding or something, like that, that's actually very significant PHI, there's actually a lot of chatter back and forth, just regular communications that aren't necessarily, things that you would want to put into the EMR, but just things like, can room 7 eat, or what's the weight-bearing status for the patient in room 8 who just had surgery. All this low-level chatter going back and forth, what we need is a system that is bidirectional, where you have read receipts, and it's just efficient communication.